Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. A special Monday. Gotta go. Do the laundry. It's cold, really cold. Wow, it dropped. It was -3 a few hours ago. Now it's 10:29 p.m., 10:29 p.m. EST, and it's cold. I gotta put those gloves. Wow. Imagine just Saturday it was 22 degrees, and now it was -3, and now it's around. I don't know, it feels like it's in the minus as well. Maybe it's still -3. Feels cold. Feels like winter's back. Sometimes it's like that, eh? It's May 20th. Thank you. I got those gloves that my anonymous friend gifted me. And here in theory, I get the priority to pass for the pedestrians because they have a stop sign, right? So they gotta stop, but sometimes they stop halfway. See some working being done and some landscaping. 514 961-2461. Maybe I had a few years ago, 8-9 years ago, I worked a little bit in landscape for a summer. It was a while ago, but I have experience. And although I applied for some jobs, maybe I'll apply for landscaping if I don't get a response. Even last night, I applied to a position for a warehouse because I have some experiences in warehouse. Times are tough here, eh? Canada, well, throughout the world, but Canada it's tougher, way tougher, and more problematic, and economic stress. My only stress now is financial, but I gotta be grateful. My rent's paid, electricity bill is paid, hydro bill is paid. The only bill left to pay is my phone, so I got a few days. I got the money set aside. It's just that I have to go directly because I don't have the bank link. It's not linked with my bank account, so I have to pay it at their representative store, office, whatever, / Hey, Squirrels. Yeah, it's cold. It's really colder than I thought. Go Habs, go. Good victory yesterday. Overtime, I predicted 4-3 if you see from Friday's videos and Saturday's videos. Yesterday they won, but they won in overtime. I didn't necessarily predict an OT victory, but they won 4-3, give some charity, and reduce the cost of the tickets, encourage all to work out, train, exercise, and checking out these little flowers here that pop on the spring because I love flowers and yellow flowers. And gotta go do laundry for my anonymous friend today because tomorrow's gonna be my day, and it's my kind of 2/3, 66% responsibility to have damage to the washer, and of course the washer has to be replaced because we dry at home. I bring them back to dry at home. The dryer works, but the washer doesn't. Look at that. That one's back in business. Our roads here in Montreal have been it's unprecedented pothole crisis, but that one is so big and dangerous, and it has a twin over there that if somebody comes fast, then of course there's a chance of probability of having a flat, or even if you carry an infant in the back, the infant popping up and down, going up and down, and bouncing their heads. See, there's the twin, the head on the bouncing their heads on the bouncing their heads up and down, of course, to the top of the roof of the car I'm in, and there could be some damage, So that's what it is now. So that's just how we calculate mathematically probabilities, and there's always math going on in my brain. Percentages, ratios, velocity, velocity, percentages. I was moody a bit earlier this morning, yesterday too, but today is still my best day. Look at the beautiful sky. Today is still my best day. Hey, for me, today is my best day, regardless, I guess, of other considerations, because I was depressed. I was suicidal for a few years, and lived in a moldy place. There you go. My first yellow, because I love the yellow flowers. Give me some of that golden. Give me some yellow from the sun. Golden flowers popping on. And I rock and roll for the truckers, bakers, butchers, nurses, doctors, firefighters. Always for the workers. Gotta keep an eye on the about it's not all about Wall Street. Everybody gotta eat. Well, last week they had roofed. Hey, be careful there when you work, See, at least it's good to have a job. Good to have a job, and the workers who work there, is something which, of course, I gotta admire, because I admire construction workers, the welders, those, of course, I calculate now where the risks, and gotta be careful, Safety first. Safety first. Safety first. They're smiling, but safety first. Stay safe, eh? Money secondary. Money secondary. Make the money first, and it's the body first, eh? So stay safe, and of course, I don't have I don't have a job right now, but I'd love to work. But I admire those workers who do the roofing. It's so necessary. It's such a job, and it's also risky, eh, to do the roofing. And of course, I would do any job is a good job. Scrubbing, cleaning, cooking, baking, doing nursing, doing all jobs which are good. So any job is good at this point in time. Look at a balloon there. I wonder if that's a popped up balloon. It's a blue balloon, eh? I don't know. Maybe from a car. Kind of small balloon with that, and that's just what we have now, A little balloon on the... I was calculating actually how fast it goes, but it has to go with the wind, eh? Because, of course, the wind pushes it, and there's a certain weight, so there's mathematics in the movements of the balloon. There's a trajectory. Oh, yes. Now we hit the jackpot. Now we hit the jackpot with a yellow flower, that yellow, beautiful. I'm so happy now, content, big smile. I see the yellow flowers. I just love yellow flowers. Red, red, red. Red's my favorite color, but I just love yellow flowers a lot. So when it comes to flowers, I guess I love the yellow flowers as a preference, But I love all flowers, and just when I see yellow flowers, it just brings me some joy. And gotta salute the firefighters. Firefighters get back home safe, construction workers. And I woke up moody a bit, but again, my best day is today. My best day is today. And it's something which we have to compliment, because I'm always open for friends with benefits. You gotta be 18 plus for that play. You have to be 18 plus. You have to be 18 plus. There's a twins there. So I would have some red. I have everything I need. I don't have space for anything where I live now. And that's a dangerous branch there. That's a dangerous branch in the middle of the road. Maybe it came from somewhere. I have the backpack now, so I'm taken on the side because there could be. Yeah, better if I do a little citizen intervention quickly because it's not safe here. So I got best put it on because if somebody comes, I guess for the parking and what have you, it's better to be far away, as far from, farther from the main road. So I guess we made a little compromise there. I don't want to scoosh it over to private property either, but thank you. Pick up the garbage collectors. It's good to have a job, and here I gotta be careful because these great machines, I wonder when they was built. I'm gonna go on strike maybe. They were on strike last week, but it's good to have a job. I guess now you're getting paid by the hour. I could do that type of job. It's just I have to know everything precisely and with precision and as precise tasks as possible. That's what is required for an Aspie. For Aspie's requirement of precision and precise tasks, description of the tasks that have to be precise. And of course, it's good to have a job, It's good to have a job. Just saw 2 trucks, I guess, from public workers, and earlier today they picked up my recycling big bin. It was full, and they picked it up, so they picked it up and they had it. Now I put it back in, because we have a common one, so several units use it. Thank you for the work above, and because they had cut that branch and sit along those most branches where they have, or they're falling down, and they have it on the category, and they have it there, and it's something which we have to of course be aware of, and that branch is going to be picked up there, and it's going to be on the side, and I wanted to feel how heavy it was, so that's why initially I didn't move it really. The branch, I didn't really move it, but just a few yards to the side, but not on the public, not on the private, just right between the corner between the pedestrian and where it was, basically. So in theory, it didn't do much, but I wanted to also feel how heavy it was, because I was imagining the heaviness, right? The security analysis was how heavy is the branch, because the heavier it is, and the further from the top that it falls, the more damage that it could potentially cause, right? The mathematics of the gravity, the pull of the, not the gravity as in the severity, because you know the word gravity has double meaning, gravity and the thing, but gravity is in the physics, as in physics, the gravitational pull of the earth, right? So depending which branches they are, if they're bigger and higher, if they're the same size, if they're higher, right? They can be the same size, the same weight. If they're higher, if one's higher than the other, then the other one potentially can cause more damage, because it increases in kind of the speed of it kind of increases, eh? So fascinating, eh? Physics as well. I'm no master mathematician. I'm not a master in physics, but I constantly do math in my brain, in my head, with the percentages, ratios, and I'm no Claude Shannon, but Claude Shannon is not that well known, but could stand with it on a 12 round with Albert Einstein. Look at this beautiful blue little flowers. I see you, just like the sky. So now we have, of course, the on the table today. It's not just mathematics, it's also geopolitics, of course. And of course we have to revise, because my prediction of 2019 is happening as I have, of course, discussed it. And of course, as I have discussed it back in 2019 in October, that is just where we are now, you know. So with the realities at hand, what I predicted is happening as I had predicted it, you know. So just that's something where we have to put always in parallel with today's events, because today being Monday, right? The 20th of April, we have to interject, and we have to always revise and always update geopolitical events, because they're always happening. And since I see that there's a horde of innocent, the children, the youth are innocent, I'm going to take a few steps to the right, and I'm going to position myself here so that I don't interfere with their activities, because it's important to get a walk. And here, this one has to go down too, because it's hanging on nothing, those branches. And like I said, remember in last video, I urged the citizen to cut that branch and to take it. Imagine today, maybe with the wind, it could have fallen on these children. Remember last week's security intervention? I asked, it's on the video, I asked the fellow citizen to please cut the branch, and I showed him. He said, oh yeah, absolutely, that branch is about to go. So maybe that's why I would save myself, you know, to do some little interventions like that. And that's just where we are now, to be conscious, you know. And it's, of course, for me, it's mathematics and science and velocity and gravity, gravitational pull and pedestrian, because I have added responsibilities, duties, and obligations myself now. I have myself added responsibilities, duties, and obligations, and I have to go today. Monday's laundry day for my anonymous friend. Last week did great amount of marching. I did more than my 20 hours that I need average for the springtime, and during summer we're supposed to get autumn, we're supposed to get average 25. So we're getting on that goal. So I encourage you all to work out, train, exercise, stretch a little bit. You know, it's my fitness journey always begins today, and I've been on a fitness journey for a long time now, since I crossed Canada coast to coast in 2017 summer. First we went in Vancouver by bus, and then September 2017 we took the train to go to Halifax, Nova Scotia. By bus it was a long ride, 3.5 days. I always go back to that memory with joy. That's when my life started turning around. When I crossed Canada coast to coast, I started establishing a strongest. Look at those beauties, yellows. I started establishing a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians, who I consider my brothers and sisters in the 50 states. And let me see, I don't want to interfere with the work there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to I think I'm good. I want to get sprayed. It's springtime, eh? The work is being done now, and there's gonna be a lot of work. Do I got time? Yeah, I guess I got 7 seconds is all I need. 7 seconds. Yeah. Just in time. Usually I don't want to rush it, but I kind of calculated the exact time that is going to take me to traverse. And so that time was, of course, 7 seconds exactly on the clock. And that's what it is now. Really, the temperature just dropped, It was so hot Saturday, it just dropped out of nowhere. Just from 22 degrees to minus. It's quite something. It affects me. Like, I get a little bit of a runny nose and sore throat, and maybe catch a cold, get a cough, stuff like that. It, not just me. It doesn't really affect just myself, but it does affect me. The oscillations, the variations of the temperature is quite intense. Well, think about that. From 22 degrees to -3, that's 25 differential in just 24 hours or 44 hours, right? Just think about that. That's quite extreme, in terms of the gap. It's really a big variation. It's huge, actually. It's really big. 25 degrees. Think about that. That's a big variation. But in actuality, so the 22 degrees, that's more like June, June temperature. So Saturday, it was more like June, although we're in April. I guess it skipped a month. So it was April 18th, 2 days ago, Saturday. In the afternoon, it reached 23 at one point. 22. I think 23 was the highest. 22.9. So that's actually like 2 months earlier. That should have been June 18th. So I guess it skipped a month, not April 18th, because Saturday was April 18th, right? So if you look at I went down. But now today, the temperature today, this is more the temperature that it should be in March, a month ago, right? A month ago, because it's cold. So I guess it's up and down. It's up and down. It's really extreme weather events. So if you think about it, the measurements, the averages and the measurements of how we are to accord them, and there's lots of math. Look at the variations, for example. That is the difference that one goes from the other. Right? So that then you can see that it can be tremendous. The variation can be tremendous in certain cases, such as the example that I just did, which is a real example for the island of Montreal. So it applies to my region, my geolocation. My region, my geolocation, right? So it doesn't apply uniformly across a bigger geographical space, right? It doesn't apply to North America. It doesn't apply to Quebec. It doesn't apply to Canada. It doesn't apply to North America. It just applies to Montreal, really. But I guess it is to be considered that, of course, it's possible that such is the case for Ottawa as well. So in the perimeter of a few hundred kilometers, like in a circle around the island of Montreal. And then we have different variations. Fascinating, eh? But of course, that doesn't apply for California, right? That doesn't apply for Florida. That doesn't apply for other parts of North America. Right? So we have to specify that this has occurred for Montreal, for the island of Montreal, because Montreal is an island. And there's something I love about that car. Maybe it's because there's a water, ocean, like oceanic, or like the sky. It's just a beautiful, beautiful blue. I would drive an electric myself, and it's interesting that I saw actually that the rest now when I left that the price of gas is going down. So this car today, that it's not electric because it has the exhaust, right? The exhaust is not electric, and I'm not a car connoisseur, but that car, let's say that just passed now, if it puts 41 liters today of gas, it will pay about 15 cents. 15 cents less than Friday, because Friday was 194, so now it's 179. Well, you have the 0.9, but we're just going to round it up. So about 15 cents less. So that means that we'll save for 41 liters. Let's round it up to 40 because the 1 liter, but nonetheless, it could be 44 liters, 50 liters. But for every 10 liters, person will save $1.50 today. But in reality, it's not really saving, because if we go back in February, the price of gas was $1.51. So it's still 27 cents more than it was in February, now in April. So it's still high in comparison, see? But in many ways, you get an illusion. You say, oh, wow, phew. But I guess it's how you do the math. Because the math has to be done according to certain principles. So you say, well, oh yeah, way better, but way better in comparison only to Friday, to a few days ago. It might go up again because we have the information that the Strait of Hormuz now, there's more problems in the Strait of Hormuz than there were before, because it seems that there's a blockade and that they're not agreeing. They're supposed to meet today to discuss in Pakistan, but it seems that Iran, mostly I'm analyzing, it's an analytical intellectual speculation that is due to the base Eagle 44. They have an underground base which is in the mountain called Horus 44 or Eagle 44, which was constructed over many, many years, and they opened it to mark the anniversary of their successful 44th anniversary of their establishment of the Islamic Republic, which happened 11th of February 1979. 11th of February 1979. So I'm less moody. I got a little bit of exercise. I wished I could have had somebody to exchange trade massage therapies tonight, because we're doing the weekend. That would help alleviate much of my moodiness, because I work out a lot. I live a very healthy, active lifestyle. It's also my ritual routines, right? To go to the mountain, to march and meditate and do mathematics and analyze and revise geopolitics and do all the things that I do, because it's, I guess, neurotypical words. In the neurotypical world, you would say it's a discipline, but for an Aspie, it's actually a ritual routine. And these ritual routines are, of course, part of my life. Of course, the ritual routines are part of many of Aspie's, people who are on the spectrum also, because Aspie is basically Asperger's. I have Asperger's, ASD level 1, autism spectrum disorder, or HFA. It took me years and years to accept it. For many years I was kind of in denial about it, or I didn't want to accept it, but until recently, so that has been quite, I guess, progress, and it took me more than 7 years, from around early 2015, spring 2015, till October 25th, 26th, 2022, so it's going to be 3.5 years ago that I've accepted it. Thank you, my anonymous friend. If I make a man, I'm gonna give 50% half for some books on autism, Asperger's. It's always some books which are given, and those books, of course, which are given to yours truly, were complimented, of course, to all the relationships of what we have now, of course, in the domain where we coexist, and of course, that relationships is that with the relationships which we have to build, construct with you neurotypicals, because you are the vast majority, 99%. I don't have antagonistic, resentful feelings, sentiments vis-a-vis you, the 99% of the population. I really don't. It's just, I'm able more than before to build bridges, small, medium, large, extra large, because before I wasn't able to, but now I'm more equipped in knowledge of my difference, and I guess in many years before I was vulnerable because of it, the vulnerabilities, because Aspies, it can be difficult for us to grasp social nuances, social unwritten social rules, unwritten social norms, the social behaviors. We might have, myself included, I have them. Strange characteristics, weird bodily movements, strange characteristics, weird bodily movements, strange characteristics, strange bodily movements. We can be very strange, in the way that we move, interact. Sometimes, we might not know even if we are interested in geopolitics or rock and roll, dancing being my favorite sport. I am androgynous, pansexual. You get that 50-50. I'm a mystic, and I do believe in reincarnations from ancient Egypt, by the pyramids, by the Nile. I was born a man, a woman, a man here in Quebec. Lived as a woman between 1685 and 1735. When it's the Philly Fitzgerald, it wasn't the Quebec as we have Quebec today, So it was hard, harsh times. Let me tell you that it was a hard life. But there was some joy, there was some pleasure, there was some interesting cuisine, mostly stews. I still make a good stew myself, and of course it's carpe diem every day since I died of COVID, and I can't believe it's been 6 years, 6 years. Because I feel like saying 4 for some reason. 4 years seems more adequate to what it was, but in reality, I had COVID in 2020, mid-February to mid-March. So that is a while ago. 6 years ago, my Nana was trying to help me. I remember she was preparing hot teas, and not just teas with honey, but homeopathic medicine. So I have to be grateful for that, I have to be grateful for that. And again, I want to build the Forgotten Goddess Temple and have projects, and my dream is the Dancing Goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, which is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership, which has to be understood, grasped socially, philosophically, intellectually. Because me, I don't have nostalgia for the past. My past was way, way worse. My best day is still today. Carpe diem it every day, and that's what it is, with the situation that many Canadians have nostalgia. I don't. I used to live over there somewhere in a basement. I didn't even have a bathtub. And it was so small and tiny. And I almost died there, and I moved out of there. It's going to be 11 years soon, so here we are. Excuse me. Is it possible that I do that?
Excuse me?
Can I do the laundry machine there?
Yeah, and any of the machines you want.
They're all taken.
They're all taken. Yeah.
All on the side. I just wanted this one,
Yeah.
if you don't mind.
No.
I'm not disturbing you at all. Thank you. Actually, I'm gonna do this one here, because I like to use the one there in the corner. Thank you. Oh yeah. So what I love about coming here a lot is the math, is mathematics. And so, because here, right, at the laundromat, when you come here, there's so much mathematics, right? There's mathematics everywhere. If you think about it, it's math, math, math everywhere where you have it in the. It's like a whole mathematical complex because you have several layers of mathematics at any given point in time. So now there's of course the reality. There's of course the reality of the mathematics behind the consumption of the water consumption, right? So you have water consumption, and of course you have the kilowatts, right? So the kilowatts is the electricity, and then you have the water. So there's always a component of the water and the electricity which is surpassed. And of course, if you calculate the ratios are always in. Well, the ratios fluctuate because the more water you put, the less will be the ratio vis-a-vis your laundry detergent. And you also can have liquid, the liquid. So because the grams can be converted in milliliters. For example, if I am going to use 1,000 milliliters of water, 1,000 milliliters is exactly as 1 liter, right? If it's 2-3 liters, then those 2-3 liters, there's math, right? So the mathematics is quite amazing if you think about it structurally, if you're into mathematics. So if you calculate the math and you do the components of the math, that is, you segment them into. So let's say we're going to have the mathematics of the laundromat. So if we have the mathematics of the laundromat here, we define it as a spatial temporary, right? A spatial temporalis. So in space and time, right? So today we don't have the whole information of the math, but the information will of course arise in time because the information exists for yesterday and the month before. So since today is April, right? So of course the April 20th, today being that today is April 20th, what exists is for the 19th, for the past yesterday. So we can do it for the month, weekly, monthly, or daily. So just to compute it, right? So how many liters of water will my laundry wash cycle have consumed? It could be, of course, two or three, right? It could be two or three. It could be two or three. Well, it's probably even four, right? It could be even four. But I don't know that information. So this information has to be computed. So because I cannot really compute the information by myself, I would have to have additional data and information, right? So that additional data and information will of course have to be in relation to other data that exists now in this point in time compared to yesterday. So because now data is being formulated, there's activity, right? And these activities of us citizens doing the laundry, we are, well, some use, well, we have to account for the variables as well as the constants, right? Because there's different cycles for the machine. So the constant would be how many liters of how many liters of water will it use per cycle. So because I use only a certain cycle, I use cold water, that means of course that it will always use a certain amount of cold water, right? So but if you use the different size machine, so I'm using the $3 machine. So the $3 machine, you have the $4 machine, the $5 machine, and different $3 machines. So we already have layers of different mathematics. We could have A, B, C, D, E, or X, Y, Z. Let's say A, B, C, D. A, B, C, A. The A would be for a machine that costs $3 for the load, for the wash cycle, the load. B would be for the $4. C would be for the 5, and D would be the white machines, and we have like basically 5 types of machines. So those machines will have different variables of how you put the wash cycles. Usually they have about 4 or 5. You can have on cold, on hot, hot or cold, cold or hot, hot or cold, or hard wash cycle or soft wash cycle. And so of course different individuals will use different amounts of soap as well, because I'm not going to use the same soap every time. Now I'm doing for my friends, so the soap varies, right? So the soap, actually, how much soap I'm using, it's a variable. How much soap I'm using?
Sorry.
Yes. There's 2 books. Which one do you want?
The blue one.
You want the blue one? Yeah, got on the leg. Yes, no problem.
Oh, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Right. So the mathematics, the math is a constant, right? So the mathematics is always a variable with comparison to the other ones, the other variables. So for example, last month, well, I don't know exactly. So this is going to be special Aspie math, but we're going to set a perimeter. So what we're discussing is the mathematics of the laundromat. Now, because I don't have the data or the information, but that data exists in the grand architect of the universe, the grand architect of the universe. No, so you have the owner, of course, would probably know more additional information, because of course there's the cost, the dollars. I put $3. Basically, I put $3, and the tokens are quarters, right? So the tokens, each token is 25 cents. Each token is 25 cents. So 3 times 4, that's $3 is times 4. So I put 12 tokens is the value, monetary value, $3, which you have to change them over here. So there's also the money involved that you spend, but there's also the consumption of the electricity. What you got to do, thank you Hydro-Quebec, because of course all the electricity is zero pollution. The electricity does not pollute. Think about that. All the electricity I'm utilizing now to do this video, it's not polluting. It does not pollute at all. It comes from 63 generating power stations, which generate power across Quebec. 63 generating power stations now power the operations of not just this laundromat, but all the laundromats. And it goes all the way to Manhattan Island. It goes all the way to Manhattan Island. 1/5, 20% of the electricity from Hydro-Quebec goes to Manhattan Island via those transmission lines. So you see, civilization is a privilege. I go back to my thesis of early 2023, how how civilization is a privilege. And of course, now in the relationship which we have with the mathematics of this laundromat that can be defined as a parameter, is that we have several levels of mathematics which we can compute, calculate. Even, of course, what I'm doing is an estimation based on speculative numbers. And of course, what we have to do now is the speculation of the numbers where we coexist in the dynamic of being myself a citizen user, what today I'm doing for my anonymous friend. So it's a load for in her name, basically. Okay, so the amount of water that's being consumed, of course, has the liquid. Everybody's putting different amounts of liquids. Personally, I do not use bleach. I don't use bleach. I never use bleach. I never use bleach or fabric softener. So I don't use fabric softener. I do not use bleach. But some people do use bleach. Some people do use fabric softener. So there's an amount of quantity. So let's say, because now we're the month of April, for the month of March, there's definitely that data for the month of March, and it could be every day there's different data from beginning when the laundromat opens till the laundromat closes. There's always data. There's always points of analysis, whether the mathematics behind the cycle, right? Because there's a certain amount of water being used. There's a certain amount of water being used. So because of course there's water being used, the cycle, of course, how it spins, it makes it so, of course, that it's conducive to the spinning cycle, which it's using it in the concomitant revelations, right? So it varies. There's a variation. So that's the math. That's the math. The variation of the math is, of course, internal, for how it's set up. So it's always going to be the same. So that will not change. What will change, of course, is the amount of liquid that the citizen uses. Hold on. See? So now it's using math. Now it's using water, water, water. See? It's going to spin in one direction and then in the other direction. And of course, it washes it several times. So these machines are made in Sweden, and of course you're gonna see that it spins in the opposite direction. So it has the engine that it spins in the opposite direction, on, and of course all the correlation where we have now to be related about is something which we have to be co-independent, and the independency, of course, of this laundromat, how it functions vis-a-vis the plurality of the instruments by which it was constructed, right? Because it requires electricity. So the electricity what we have now, of course, is used from Hydro-Quebec, from the generating power station. So that generating power station is all the 63 dams which were, of course, constructed in the past 20th century, and even Laundromat 1, Laundromat 2, Laundromat 3, Laundromat 4, which are the newest ones which were constructed earlier now. So that is the spin cycle there. Yeah. See, these are the tokens that I used. So I changed $3 because that's what I used, $3. And I got one, that's four, and that's four, and that's 12. So basically it's quarters. But the quarters are actually they're cute though. I don't know, I like them in a way, of course, what we have now. Looks at that. But I have to disinfect my hands, because I really have to disinfect the hands because I don't know the microbes. So, because it could be, okay, so this is mathematical as well, because I have other tokens there. And so how many tokens? How many times were these tokens used before they were disinfected? Maybe never, since they were put into circulation. Maybe nobody washed them or cleaned them. I think that the tokens should be best cleaned every month cycle. See? Every month cycle. Every month cycle. See, that's what it is. Now we're gonna put them inside. So okay, that's what I have others here. So of course I have others. See? So now I have. It's a strange noise. Mm. It's spinning really fast. That, that noise, I don't like it. Maybe because of my aspiness, those noises are a bit annoying, but if they're effective, I guess. It's more their efficiency for the load that is pertinent at this point in time, based on the noise. But anyways, I'm gonna disinfect my hands because I got the cream sanitizer. Cream disinfects, kills germs and bacteria. See, kills germs and bacteria. See, kills germs and bacteria. Kills germs. It's Health Canada, so.
Hindi na pwede ipag. Hindi na pwede pag. Card. Hindi, yan. Dito lang na. Kita sukli lang.
So the math, back to the math, yeah. So calculate. So the mathematics is, of course, always going to be the same for different machines. It's going to the only different. Basically, it's going to have the layers, but the layers of the mathematics that the variables, because the variables will always be what the amount, what the washer cycle is. The washer cycle and does the consumption. The consumption of the water will be steady, however, just a few milliliters, so that's not considerable enough. But what will be the difference will be what citizens put in it. So because it will vary, right? So some might put something else, and some citizens might, of course, not use bleach. I don't use bleach. I don't use bleach at all. I don't use fabric softener. So the fact that I do not use fabric softener myself, that is a part of my individual choice. So each citizen will put something else. A citizen might put more laundry detergent, might put also fabric softener, might put bleach. Might put bleach. So if If somebody uses bleach, that's an added milliliters of how many milliliters you put, right, of bleach. Personally, I do not use bleach at all, so that's not something that I'm concerned about. But I do use laundry detergent, liquid laundry detergent. So the fact that I do use that liquid laundry detergent, there's also a ratio, a component ratio mathematically. So it will always be different. Me myself, I will use a certain amount. My friend will use a certain amount. So for the month of March, if we go back in time, there's an exact amount of liters of water that were consumed by the machines. And of course those liters of water were, I don't know how many, because but the data exists. So the data exists, right? So, but I'm not able to tell how many, but I could say maybe, I don't know, tons. A ton, basically, a ton is 1,000 liters, right? Because a ton is 1,000 kilos, and a kilo is 1,000 grams, and 1,000 grams is 1,000 milliliters. So it will have maybe, of course, I don't know, maybe 93 tons of water in the month of March. It could be more. It could be more, but that number exists. And of course it's also the question, how many machines were used, how many times in the month of March. So those are all mathematical questions which have an answer. How many times did, how many machines, how many times, how many loads were they used? But of course then you have this different ones. The $3 machines were used a certain amount of time, and then how many times for the $3 machines were used on hot water, cold water. So those are the variables, right? The variables. But it will always cost $3. The machines that are $3 will always cost $3. So that is the constant. What's the variable? The variables are the mathematical things that change. But for every cold wash, you will use a certain amount of water. So that will not change, right? That will be a constant. What changes is what the citizen, the ones who come, like myself, who comes to the laundromat to do the laundry, is how much milliliters of liquid. It could be also powder, right? It could be also grams of powder, because you have places to put the powder. Is not just for liquids. So, but that easily can be converted. A gram is equal to 1 milliliter. A gram. The conversion, the weight is done automatically. For example, a liter is a kilo, right? A co-equivalent. There's a co-equivalency. There's a co-mathematical co-equivalency, and of course, thus it can be transposed that for March there was X amount of liters that were used of water. And of course, amount of liters that were used of water is amount of soap as well. Soap, laundry detergent, soap. So also the amount of electricity that was spent, because it's not just water. You need the water, the Hydro-Quebec electricity, Hydro-Quebec electricity. So you need the Hydro-Quebec electricity to facilitate for the operation to run, because otherwise they don't run without electricity, right? You're not putting coal. You're not putting coals, You're not putting coal. You're putting electricity. So it works on electricity, which is clean, zero pollution, zero emission, comes from the 63 dams where we have now together, where we got, of course, in the relationship of having the 63 generating power stations, 63 generating power stations. Those 63, interestingly enough, because I always put it for the 10, the 50, and the 3, the 63 generating power stations are all around spread of Quebec, and our electricity is clean. Zero pollution, zero energy. I'm working now on this video. I'm doing it with clean, zero pollution energy. The energy that's consumed here is good, and I'm grateful for the service, because it's really a service. Of course, I pay for it, but I have the option, I don't have to wash them all by hand, because otherwise there'd be lots of damage, maybe even then, if I wash them by hand. So that would be something that I'll have to look at objectively, whether it's the cost. So I come here because there's more option. It's bigger than my old laundromat. Before because we had that washer for at least 3 years, but it got damaged last year. Again, I take 2/3 responsibility. I wish I could buy my anonymous friend not just the washer and the dryer, but the house, because I'm drying it at home. So the dryer works, and the dryer functions well. There's no problem with the dryer per se. Where the problem is of course not the dryer, but the laundry the laundry, not the dryer works. But even here you have dryers as well, so you might of course have a certain amount, so a certain amount of electricity which is being consumed, right? So the electricity which is being consumed, that's just something where we have, of course, to also account. So that number exists. That will be looked at for on the Hydro-Quebec information, and of course the owner pays. The owner pays. The owner pays the electricity. Oh, that's so nice.
What do you want? Onion, pickle, Ano nga yung bangko?
It's noisy. I don't know if it seems like it's about to pop, just pop. I don't know. It's just so spinning so strong. Super noisy. Just because of my autism, Asperger's is the level 1. Autism spectrum disorder, HFA, high functioning autism. It doesn't impede my functioning mental capacities. It's annoying, to the brain. But I can detect mathematics in the sound because if you see the pattern, it's always and there's like 3 of a second of a third of a second where it's co-equivalent to the noise. But it's so noisy. Think about it. It's super noisy. Yeah. So back to mathematics. So there's also the amount of time. So every day there's gonna be a certain amount of people that come, right? So it could be, well, it varies. I guess I don't know which day do you think is most people come? Mondays, Tuesdays, Fridays? Maybe Friday. Maybe Saturday. I don't know, Sunday. I guess the owner would know, but the March there was so many people that came March. There was probably, I don't know, different citizens, but I wonder which day out of the month there's most people that come. That is of course a variable, right? Because the variable is going procedure to the point in time. So again, we go back to discussing the laundromat from the mathematical perspective. So we are to put a space in space time, right? So the geolocation. So this laundromat defined as a mathematical parameter where we define the mathematics or the mathematical equations all in relation to the consumption. The consumption of the water, water, electricity, and laundry detergent. And well, I didn't use much. I just used one type. I just use a few milliliters. I would say that it's about, my anonymous friend gave me from that little bottle, maybe 50 milliliters. But if you contrast, if the laundromat used 2 liters, then 2 liters is 200 milliliters. So 2,000 milliliters, of course, is 2 liters. And of course, 50 milliliters is co-equivalent what we have with the representational aspects for what we have now. So of course, that relationship is relations of the percentages. So it will always fluctuate on the percentage. So of course, all that relationship in the percentage where we have now to be related is the dynamics, of course, right? So that's the dynamics.
Wait, sana na-able ko mo.
May wala sinasabi.
Kasulong.
All right. Oh yeah, there we go. Oh yeah. Happy Aspie. There's so much math in there, you know. It brings me so much joy, and yeah, when I come back, I put it on the side, you know. I put it on the side. I don't carry it in the backpack. I do not carry it in the backpack. I put it on the side when I come back, and it's just that noise was quite annoying, eh? That noise was really, really, really hardcore. So yeah, truckers, bakers, butchers, nurses, and it's gonna be my workout. I'm just a bit moody because I'm a bit hungry. But yeah, that was the machine. I don't know if it's the machine there because it just didn't seem it didn't seem like a normal noise to me. Like a normal noise, but it seems that nothing was damaged from what I could tell. I hope not. I never did that machine, so that is the first time that I did use that particular machine. It's part of the $3 machines. So you got $3 machines, $4 machines, $5 machines. $5 I only used it once. Really big load. So if we define the parameter of the parameter, so we're gonna discuss some math now. Just focus on math. I guess it's less noisy and just Aspie mathematics. So at the laundromat, as defined as the mathematical parameter for the inquiries and the speculative Aspie mathematics is of course estimation, speculations, because I don't know all the information in geospatial temporal time, which is that specific laundromat. So that is the geospatial or the spatial temporal, the space and the time, because it's over a set period of time. So for the month of March, the number exists. For yesterday, the number exists. Not for today. Today is the 20th of April. So today, until it closes, I think it closes at 11 p.m., the numbers are still being crunched, and there's activity and actions being formulated or being, of course, performed, which is basically citizens doing their laundry. Like myself, I spent $3. I used the $3 machine. I used a certain amount of laundry detergent. I did not use soap. I used liquid laundry detergent, liquid laundry soap. I didn't use bleach. I did not use fabric softener either. Some people might use fabric softener and some other things such as fabric softener. I didn't. But if I would have, that would have been added to the weight, right? To the weight or to the ratio of the per water, right? Because there's a certain amount of water which was used, right? So that amount of water which was used is determined by the setting of the machine, by how the machine works, the laundry machine. So it's possible, let's say that for the $3 one is 3 liters, for the $4 one is 4 liters, and for the $5 one is 5 liters, let's say, because it's 3, 4, 5, and whatever the case may be. But I'm just saying those numbers because they could be different numbers. So if it's 3 liters, that's 3,000 milliliters. Now if I put 44 milliliters of laundry detergent, that is of course not 4%, is 0.44%. So we can round it up to 0.5%, right? Because it's 1,000, right? It's 1,000. So we have to divide it by, we have to divide it by 100, right? Well, we divide it by 10 first, then we get the 100, and then we do another division. Well, we have to divide it that way. So 44, we have to divide it. To get the percentage, which in this case, if it's 44, if it's 44, then it's 0.44%. Well, actually, it's 4.4%, right? So 4.4%, because we divided by, in percentages, it would be 4.4%, 44 milliliters, but we also have to divide it by 3, right? By 3. So it's not in actually 4.4%. That would have been for 1,000 liters per one liter. So because I said 3 liters or 4 liters or 5 liters, we also have to do the divided by 3 or 4 or 5, depending which machine. So for this, we have some math to do there basically, and it's best to look at a piece of paper with all the information more expressed. Is each laundry machine, A, B, C, D, or A, B, C, D. A would be the $3 machine, B would be the $4 machine, C would be the $5 machine. So, for example, if it's 44 milliliters per 1,000 milliliters, then we would divide, right? Then we divide, because 100 is 100%, but in this case, we have to calculate, or we could calculate the percentage of laundromat per liters of water, right? So that would be, of course, a percentage. Go Habs, go! They won yesterday. Good victory, 4-3. So that percent would be an estimation. In this case, because I don't have all the numbers. But for example, let's say if it would be 100 milliliters of water, and that would be 4, and it would be 44 milliliters, then it would be exactly 44%, right? But since we have to, actually in reality, we have to add and calculate all the liquid. If we are just to contrast see, we can have, it can get more complex a bit, because actually if we use liquid, right, and then we say just liquids, we have 2 variations or 3 variations of different liquids every time that the machine is used. So we're getting into mathematical variables. We're getting into more complexity a bit. So now, because let's say a machine, this is nice, I wonder what it is. Build 300 for the Dragon Army. 300 for the Dragon Army. So if a machine, for example, 300 for the Dragon Army, if a machine is used by a citizen who uses fabric softener, laundry detergent, and bleach, or bleach and laundry detergent, or just bleach and fabric softener, right? I just use laundry detergent. I use neither, but it's possible that some people use bleach. Then it is different. And then we have to add them, the total, if they're liquids, or if it's the powder, we convert it into liquids, and then we add, right, the weight. So the total weight, the water used for the water cycles, the spinning cycles, the rinsing cycle, the washer, the main wash, because it has cycles, right? We have the main wash, the spinning cycle, main wash, spinning cycle, on. So we have different cycles where the water sometimes is even drained, right? So sometimes the water is even drained. So now we're getting into variables. So of course I would have to look at the chart, the mathematical chart. In this case, the number really exists for the month of March. So today, there's going to be new numbers, new mathematics, new numbers. And of course, those new numbers and new mathematics are always happening, always formulating, always existing in real time. But the reality, of course, of being in real time, parallel to today, because, for example, tomorrow the numbers for today will exist. All the activity today, let's say 44 people go total. The crow says, yes, that's the number. Really, Crow? My only fan? Crow says, I know your secrets, but I also know theirs. I'm like, I know. My only stress is financial, but always open for friends with benefits. So, nonetheless, if we are to go more in depth, we would have a few pages of information, and we would have each and every one of the mathematical variables inscribed on pieces on paper or online, right, in a Word document or whatever online, that we could quantify it. We could put it into a computer as well. So for the month of March, there was an exact amount of liters of water which was used. Now I don't know exactly. I can only estimate and speculate. And there's an amount of times that each machine was used, whether the $3 one, the $4 one, the $5 machine. It could be 150 for one, 60 for another. Man, you dropped something. Vous avez échappé quelque chose? I don't know what. Let me see. Is it something that it dropped or something that's here? As a ticket. It expired. Okay. How was it? I don't know if it dropped or something, but it's just a receipt. Or maybe it didn't drop. It looked like the person dropped it, but it didn't. Okay, it's just a receipt. I was wondering what it was. It's not a... I thought it was something important. This has to be recycled. This is just the recycling. Gonna go see if he wants it. Whatever the case may be. Otherwise, we'll recycle it there in the corner. It's a receipt from the STM for the Société de Transport de Montréal for March. So we're gonna get rid of it. We're gonna just put it on the go. Maybe it wasn't from the person, so I don't know. It's a receipt amount. Just gonna ask, I guess. Just gonna ask. You never know. Some people hold it's important their receipts for the bills, the transaction. Reçu de vente, that's French for basically a bill. A receipt, it's a receipt. I'm gonna try to see if I can get it there. See. Madame, vous avez échappé ça?
Merci.
Vous avez échappé par terre, à peu près 44 mètres en arrière, dans la gauche, ici. Yeah. So. Yeah, sometimes it's important, eh? So yeah, that's what it is. And gonna wait. I'm gonna traverse on the other side, get more sun. Get more sun and wait for the horse to pass, and that's what it is now. You know, that's what it is with the go, and you gotta go towards the sun, you know, and just get it on the go. And sometimes people hold it, you know, the receipts, and of course you might not see it, but there's math everywhere, eh? There's math everywhere, and the contingency of doing mathematics is quite a pleasure for me, and I guess I gotta get it back to the person, you know, gotta get it on now. So go jogging. I love to see people working out, training, and exercising, and that's always good, of course. To see people training, exercising, always good for me. Always enjoy it, and always on a fitness journey today, you know. Carpe diem it every day since I died of COVID, and that's that rock and roll, you know. But sometimes even a receipt like that, she'll make the decision to recycle it or not. It was a receipt from the receipt. I keep some receipts. Some I got a recycling because I have receipts from years and years ago. I got a beautiful yellows, which I have to recycle because I have a small space and I don't really need them anymore, you know. The receipts. Got the receipts with that, so that's just where we are, of course, in the contingency, and that is just, of course, the relationship of where we are now. So that, of course, being the manifestation, of course, of having the relationship, of course, what we got now to correlate, of course, that maybe he's gonna use on that importance, you know. So that is just something what we have now. So that's just where we are to be related with, and that's just what we have now, you know, to correlate. And it so that is just the relationship where we are now, you know, in this point in time. So that is just the coefficiencies, of course, of living today. Now my brain's different, and I guess I have some Aspie pride, but I'm no Claude Shannon, but I'm above average in mathematics. Again, I would love to actually look at the pieces of paper of the documents and, you know, do the math of the laundromat. So it would be characterized as the water, you know, as the water. It would be characterized, actually, okay, for A would be the machine, the $3 machine, B would be the $4 machine, 5 would be the, well, A would be the $3 machine, B would be the $4 machine, C would be the $5 machine, and the other ones, the other machines, because you have different machines that cost $3. So of course there would be A, B, C, D, E, right? A, B, C, D, D, and E as well. So A, B, C, A, the $3 machine. Of course, B would be the $4 machine, of course, and C would be the other machine. I see. So, of course, the other variables, of course, will be, of course, the mathematics of the consumption of the electricity in kilowatts, right? So you'll be in kilowatts, and the amount of water then for each machine. So how many machines there are? Well, there's like quite a few. There's maybe 20 machines, 25 total, right? So I have those machines where basically there are 25. There are 25 machines, and of course, basically, of course, where they are, of course, is the 25 machines or so, all right? So that's basically overall mathematics of it. And then you have the sub-variables of the liquids that I use, the laundry detergent. It could be also, they have a space. There's 4 spaces. Each machine has 4 different spaces, except for the white machines that I never used as of yet. But of course, except for the white machines, they have the other ones which are I use myself. And that's the amount of liquid laundry detergent, laundry detergent, laundry detergent, right? Laundry detergent. The laundry detergent, the soap. If you use bleach, you will have bleach. If you have bleach. If you don't have bleach, then you don't use bleach. But it's possible that some people use a lot of bleach. So, the bleach. On a une nouvelle première ministre.
Oui. Fréchette?
Madame.
Caroline Fréchette?
Non, Christine.
Christine Fréchette.
Christine, c'est pas Caroline son nom. C'est Christine Fréchette.
Oui.
Ouais, je suis bien content.
On verra.
Ouais, puis elle parle bien anglais, hein?
Ça peut pas être pire que l'autre.
Ouais, c'est pour ça que je dis quand des fois, tu sais, ils disent qu'ils écoutent la première ministre, la manière qu'elle parle l'anglais, je pense qu'ils devraient faire un effort en conséquence parallèlement. Parce que s'ils font pas un effort, tu sais, parce qu'elle parle super bien anglais quand même. C'est écœurant. Vous avez-tu entendu? Vous avez-tu entendu son discours? Moi, je l'ai entendu au radio en anglais, puis je l'ai confondu pour une anglaise. Ben, parce que j'ai pas trouvé de faute dans son... Tu sais, d'accent, rien de ça. J'ai rien trouvé d'accent, de faute. C'était excellent, son anglais, là.
Oui.
Fait que...
On verra. C'est tout.
C'est un bon approche, là, pour que les autres ils fassent un effort aussi, tu sais,
Oui.
pour qu'ils apprennent le français aussi.
C'est bon.
Salut, bonne journée. So here we speak a little bit of that French. So of course is the condition, of course, of where we are now. So that, of course, the domain, of course, being is, of course, the consequence of the relationship, of course, where we have to be available to have a chat as an acquaintance there. Always fun to speak some French with my auntie there in the corner, and the corner there has to be related in the relationship, of course, of being involved in keeping the children safe, keeping the children safe, you know. So we got 5 seconds, and gotta get a little bit of 5 seconds with that, and that's just the coefficient, of course, of being in the relationships and the dynamics where we are now. So that relationship and that life-affirming matter is, of course, the reality of me being different as well. She knows she has somebody. Actually, she mentioned that somebody close in her family, brother, or cousin brother, that she has somebody living with somebody on the spectrum of autism, and of course that correlation is that she's aware of my difference and how I communicate and how we interject, and of course, yeah. So I would actually I do math every day. I love doing mathematics, velocity, consumption of electricity. Here in Hydro-Quebec, 63 dams of Hydro-Quebec, 63 dams of Hydro-Quebec. We have 63 dams of Hydro-Quebec. You have 63, 63 that power with clean, zero pollution, zero energy, zero emission. It's fuel for everything that we do in the households. Well, it's not fuel, but it's hydroelectric. And so to calculate the mathematics of the laundromat, we would have to use... Also, we have to account for the consumption of the electricity. It's going to be every machine. The cycle that I use now in the lawn machine, has consumed a certain amount of electricity. However it may be. I wonder how much it was. How much was it exact? So this can be what's beautiful about it. It can be quantified with exactitude and mathematically. So it's a precision, right? Because those numbers exist quite precisely. Of course, it would be in decimal points. For example, the amount of water, it's possible that it's 1 liter, 0.56, or exactly 2 liters and 156 milliliters, right? Or 2.156 expressed. It is possible, of course, that the exact amount of electricity, well, there is an exact amount of electricity that was used, right, for the cycle. Now, of course, we will for sure deduct that each machine, because they're bigger, will consume both more water and more electricity than the smaller machines, right? So we have the $3 machines, the small ones, the $4 machines, the medium ones, and the $5 machines, the bigger ones. Small, medium, large. Small, medium, large. So their consumption will vary, you know. Their consumption will vary. So of course their consumption will vary across usages as well, but they will have a variation between each machine will be different from the other because the size is bigger, right? So we can deduct that the bigger machines will use more water and will consume more electricity than the smaller machines, mathematically. Right? Look at those beautiful yellow flowers there. I love yellow flowers. That's some rock and roll with that. So that, I guess it's noon, eh? I hear the left a bit late, half an hour late. I was supposed to leave at 10. It was 10:29. I was supposed to actually go at 9:30, I said, but there was so much geopolitics and I stretched a bit. I stretched in my bed a bit after I woke up early. It's 5. And I went back to stretch, meditated, and saw my anonymous friend off. She handed me the black bag for the laundry and the money for the laundry. And that's about it. And then I went to do what I do, what I'm going to do for hours and hours and hours today. Geopolitics, the study, the analysis of geopolitics. That's just the rock and roll, and that's just how we are, how we do it, and how we bounce it in, you know. So it is just co relate. Hey, look at that. Isn't that interesting? It's froze. Quite interesting how it froze there. You got beauty of nature. And of course, yeah, I would actually again love to look at the numbers of the consumption of water, consumption of, and the others we would not be able to really know, because we would have to ask every citizen and weigh how much laundry detergent, how much liquid they use. You know, that would not really be. That would be more speculative, right? Because that would be work to do, and we got work to do for the Imperial Republic, and my ideas theory is best for the North American Collective, as I've discussed them. And now we're gonna switch a bit from mathematics, but we're gonna calculate. Final mathematics is mathematics of me going to the machine. How many kilometers will I walk back and forth from the laundromat? If it takes me about half an hour to get there, do I go about 4 or 5 kilometers, maybe more, then to go and come back, maybe 10 kilometers, right? So it's a walk, eh? Going back and coming back, and it's about half an hour to go, half an hour to get, and that's of course just the reality of another mathematics. Look at these beauties. They're wild, so gorgeous. Little ones, so beautiful, like almost purple, purplish, so gorgeous. Feel the flowers there. So there's math everywhere. Even now, I'm going to leave you with some math, mathematical meditative Aspie, meditative math. There's a certain amount of trucks now that are traveling. However, if I leave it vague like that, without precision, without information, then it will just be vague and undefined, the mathematical parameters, right? If I define it, if I say, well, it's going to be between an XYZ amount of space. So I'm going to say between or including Canada and United States, as if it would be one joint country together. The 10 provinces, 3 territories, and 50 states. Let's say the 63, as I always put it, for the 63. Hey, crow, I love you. Love the crows. Hawk, hawk, hawk. HEWK is my totem bird, but I dance with the crows as well. I know. Thank you. My only fan there, the crow. Can get some kisses. Said, go, dragon, go. Thanks. My only fan says, you're on your way. You're not perfect, but you have some justice in you. A little bit, I guess. A little bit I do. And That's what we have, of course, to be in the relationship where we got now to be on the left and on the right and in the middle, and gotta be left and turn the heads right or left, and that is just something where we have, of course, to coefficient that we have there, of course, all the way, of course, and the correlation, of course, where we coexist, and that is just the domain of the multiplicity of the detailed manner in which we coexist now, that we have to relate to the fabrication, of course, of the relationships which we have now. So of course that correlation which exists now is in the relationship of me saluting these Hydro-Quebec workers. That's why I was mentioning 63 dams, Hydro-Quebec workers that we have now. So here it is, the beautiful truck, Hydro-Quebec, thank you. For the dams, and of course for the anticipatory dams what we have now to be correlated, and that's just the dynamic, of course, of something which we have, That's always a reality where we coexist, and always a reality where we have the dynamic. So all the reality where we got to coexist now is the dynamic where we exist, where we have involved ourselves with the mathematics of the Hydro-Quebec and hydroelectricity. And of course the mathematics and the hydroelectricity of it all is something which we have to be prudent about, or meditate in a way which is, of course, correlated to all the aspects which we are to co-evaluate in the figurative manner or in a more explicit manner when we define the parameters of those mathematical questions, which I'm going to pose now. How many trucks are going across Canada? But then I can specify, hey, how many trucks are going east? How many trucks are going west? How many trucks are going north? How many trucks are going south? At what speed? And then I could furthermore define the parameter. The parameter would be how many trucks are just merely involved in transporting food, pizzas, bananas, eggs, eggplants, sugar, milk. See? So it gets more specific. I'm narrowing, or I'm classifying mathematically the classification in the geospatial environment, right? So because I'm classifying it in a geospatial environment, then that geospatial environment as I defined it is Canada, United States, together joint. I could have included Mexico. Mexico is of course part of North America, but of course that was the reality. So that reality, of course, in the faculty was presented in such a way as I had myself concluded that it must be presented. So that presentation and that officiation is the reality, of course, of these mathematics where we correlate ourselves in the relationships of where we coexist now. So that relationship, of course, of that plurality is, of course, the domain and the spectrum that we have, that it can be broadened. So you see here, for example, this is a hybrid vehicle of Hydro-Quebec, and you got another Hydro-Quebec down there. You have like 3 of them. So you gotta give some salutations to the Hydro-Quebec, of course, in the relationships where we are now to realize, and of course to be in the faculty where we correlate, and of course that dynamic is always the faculty, of course, of where we correlate in the spectrum, of course, broad intelligence, where these mathematical parameters are defined now. So thank you, Hydro-Quebec. Interesting that that's a hybrid vehicle. And of course, see, for example, this is a perimeter set, a perimeter. So we got my definitions that I said before, a perimeter for the trucks. Now the trucks, I'm going to say which trucks carry bacon, for example. But then there's different types of bacon or milk. So I could be general or specific. So the specifics or the general attributions are, of course, more specified and more specific than others. So that, of course, has to be the relationships, of course, of where we exist as the environment, of course, approaches the dictums of the space and times and the temporal existence, me being today, now that I also have to define it between, and then a certain hour and a certain hour, and then I would say EST, Eastern Standard Time. Because I live in Montreal, Hawk Island, in Eastern Standard Time. So thus the EST time zone would apply. Although an hour will pass the same now, from now into an hour has passed, the same time and space is for the West Coast as well. British Columbia, Vancouver, of course, British Columbia and Vancouver, right? Of course. So that reality is, of course, the reality that this is to be defined in such a way, or rather, of course, the defining moments are, of course, characteristics of also saying between 9 a.m. or saying from 3 p.m. today, because it's noon now, past noon. Let's say between 3 p.m. EST and 7 p.m. between those 4 hours. How many trucks will there be going anywhere? So not necessarily east or west or north or south, but going anywhere across both Canada and the United States. And then that reality exists, and then you have actually mathematics, that mathematically we can also have all this information exists, how much weight, how many tons, how many kilos of bananas, how many kilos of tomatoes, how many kilos of potatoes, how many kilos of potash, how many, of course, kilos, of course, of other products what we have now together to be, of course, in the relationship, and of course all that manifestation what we coexist now that is involved in all the plateau, all the domains which we correlate ourselves to be. We gotta turn our heads left and right when you cross the street here. See, it went down, but it's still way higher than it was in February. So it went down comparison to Friday. It's 178.9. So in comparison to Friday, right? So if we compare it to Friday, then we could say that it went down, right? Comparison to Friday, it went down by 15 centimeters. Now, if we are, of course, in comparison to whatever other comparison you want to make, we go back further in time. It was way lower by 27 cents, right? Because it was 151.9. So if we subtract by 27 cents, so it's still higher, but it gives, I guess, somewhat the mathematical financial illusion in many ways. It gives the mathematical financial illusion that it was, of course, that it is higher, that it is lower compared to the fact that it was higher. I meant to say compared to the higher rate that it was 3.5 days ago, which was 190, whatever, 190, 194, so whatever the case might be. So of course all that relationship is that now the price did go down considerably, 15 cents in 3.5 days. It's a considerable amount, but nonetheless it's way higher than it was in February. So some might get that kind of relief, which is still a relief, but in reality it's not really a relief because overall gas prices. Wow, I'm glad I took this turn here. Look at that, so beautiful, those three little beauties, yellow there with those other yellows, the shade of yellows, love it. I just love so many flowers here. I wonder how much rent goes now. I'm not looking to move, but I wonder how much rent is. How much is rent? 3.5, 4.5. Where I live now, it's way better. I used to live in a very moldy place, eh? I always say that it was like a prison cell. It wasn't really a prison cell, but it was like one in many ways, because I didn't even have a bathtub. I'm grateful I have a bathtub now. I'm going to be able to take a bath and what have you before I put these to dry, and later on, maybe after a workout, if not. Anyway, I can take a bath any day. And I used to live in that moldy place, so very small moldy place. I didn't even have a bathtub. That was, of course, me living there, having survived COVID and a vicious, murderous, homicidal surprise attack. I always say God, goddess, and I was saved because of the God and the goddess, and kind of like that blue. That's a nice blue car. Just a nice blue, drive safely. And yeah, of course, I survived COVID. I survived being depressed, being suicidal, I survived being depressed, being suicidal. I survived that moldy place, small underground basement. I didn't even have a bathtub there, so that was quite hardcore-ish, and that was quite disturbing in many ways, I guess. I've trouble remembering my life prior to early 2014, late 2013, like January, February 2014, October, before October 2013, early 2014. It's like I have a good memory of the past 10, 11 years plus. Then before February 2014, it goes foggy and then like blackouts. I have trouble remembering personal life memories, like retrograde amnesia, basically. But it doesn't matter. I'm not that person who died during COVID in 2020. I died. I'm being reborn. I don't have nostalgia, me. And wow, look at that. There's a big one. Big patch there. It's going to get bigger. Those three. The Trinity, see? 1, 2, 3. If they enlarge, they're going to create one big one. One big hole there. I don't have nostalgia. Interesting that 2 weeks ago, the respondents on the survey, 2/3 of Canadians, 66% of those born between 1947 and 1996, they kind of have a nostalgia that they feel or they know. Well, the feeling and knowing, I guess it varies from individual, because myself, I have feelings, sentiments, I get moody, I get emotion, I have emotions like everybody else in my Aspie way, my neurodivergent way, of course, but nonetheless, I can look at the math and the statistics of unemployment and for youth and the growing cost of living. Of course, I detected it right away mathematically, and the fact that the food bank use has more than doubled in 7 years. I got to thank for those who contribute to my food security. I think I'm just gonna I'm gonna make myself some mac and cheese today. Monday's gonna be mac and cheese. I have nothing for you today, sorry. No candy. She's gonna give you something, eh? Have a nice day. What do you want, eh? I know. It's cold, eh? Yeah. I know. See you later. Bye. Hey?
You're going to work.
I'm going home to do, I have to do laundry today.
Good for you.
I'm looking for a job. You have something to offer me? Jobs?
You're looking for a job.
I'm looking for work. But now, today I have to go do laundry. I went to do laundry. And I applied so many jobs, but
Where do you live? In Marriott? Where do you live?
I live on Park Row West.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
At the blacks? At the blacks, huh?
Uh,
Blacks? Up there?
It's near Park Row East.
Okay, good.
Near the, yeah.
Where do you come from?
I'm from here.
From?
I'm from Canada. I'm Québécois.
Oh, yeah.
Parlez-vous français?
Pizza bowl.
Oh, un petit peu. Vous parlez pas bien gros, là.
Hein?
Parlez plus anglais, vous?
Oui.
OK, moi, je parle anglais les deux, ça me dérange pas.
No, eh?
No.
Good for you. You went to school.
Ouais, ben oui.
That's why.
C'est quelle autre langue que vous parlez?
Italiana.
Ah oui, vous parlez italien, OK. C'est une belle langue, je trouve.
C'est pas l'italiano.
Je peux le lire, par exemple.
Oh,
Je peux lire l'italien.
yeah?
Ah oui, je peux le lire.
Wow.
Parce que c'est comme le français, mais j'ai déjà lu les journaux en italien, puis je comprends tout.
Il dialetto, everybody have a dialetto, but Italiano, very Italiano. It's very hard,
Because it's like close to Latin.
okay?
Français aussi, c'est comme du latin.
So,
Parce que si on regarde, tu sais, la devise de Montréal,
oui?
vous savez c'est quoi?
No.
Vous savez pas c'est quoi? You don't know what it is? It's in Latin.
Latin? Wow.
Concordia salus.
I don't know.
That's the motto of Montreal.
Wow.
It's Latin. You know what it means?
Okay.
Harmony through well-being.
Have a good day, sir. Be careful, okay?
You too. It was a pleasure meeting you. I wish you a nice day today, but I feel it's kind of cold, eh?
Yeah. Okay.
Nice meeting you. Have a nice day. What a nice old lady, I guess. I had experience working with the seniors. I didn't mention that. I forgot to mention that I'm neurodivergent, but that's the thing with Aspies, you know. Sometimes we just respond in a way, because said I'm going to work, and I said I'm going to do personal work, which is geopolitics and art, but I'm looking for work. Maybe I shouldn't have said whatever. I don't know. The neurotypical mind is different, so I said I'm looking for work. I applied. I actually asked if she has some work opportunity. I said maybe gardening. See, this is the thing with Aspies like myself is that the social dynamics can be hard, so sometimes we don't have a filter. So that's what it is now, and that's what we got, so that's what we have to be and to correlate ourselves and to. She smiled and she talked and the dog was barking, so I guess she said hello, so I engaged a bit and she engaged a bit and we had a little bit of a chat, and she didn't know the motto of Montreal because it's Latin, and since I studied geopolitics, I know Italian, and it comes from the history, right? History. Latin is derived from Latin derives French, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, Romanian as well. Actually, Romanian is the closest to Latin. The closest, because that's what Romania really means, New Rome. Actually, the Eastern Roman Empire, Byzantium, was known as Romania. The actual name was Romanoi. They called themselves Romanoi. So Romanians, actually, from the Roman Empire, the closest is Romanian, the language, Romanian. But it's also always fun to engage with fellow citizens, and yeah, it can be weird with Aspie. I might say exactly how I feel, or in the case, I said I'm looking for a job. I applied and I asked if she had to offer maybe a job, because I spoken with her. I don't know the relationship, but spoken maybe with her brother or her husband. I don't know. We had great geopolitical chats a few years ago during COVID, and he knows a little bit of geopolitics, so we engaged a bit 3 years ago or so. So we speak sometimes. So yeah, I survived to do some other goods, and I have experience working with senior citizens. I loved working with senior citizens to the best of my ability in the CHSLDs, so that was always correlated and always been good and always been left and always been right and always been in the middle and always been officiating what we have now to be correlated and to be related, of course, in the representation of the left and the right spectrum, and that's what we have now to be related with, and that relationship, of course, is something which we have to embrace, I guess, my difference and her, and of course move towards the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, of course, to get it on the left and on the right and implement the CIT, citizen integration theory, the DRT, that refusion theory, and the DFT, democratic fusion theory, and of course to complement, of course, in the appellations where we got to coexist ourselves, and how dynamic is that we have to fuse the RCMP and the FBI and implement, of course, my protocols and, of course, theories and, of course, dynamics of which we are to be coexistent, of course, so that dynamics, of course, is fusing the RCMP and the FBI into the CPS, Canadian Citizen Police Service, or IPS, Imperial Police Service, and implement the debt refusion theory. And I'll keep updating when I survived a vicious, murderous, vicious surprise attack, and I don't like violence at all. I don't like violence, but I'm hyper vigilant, and years ago I survived a vicious, murderous surprise attack, a vicious, murderous surprise attack, vicious, murderous, homicidal in nature, and I survived it, and here I am, my dream to implement my Trinity of theories, fuse also the FBI, the RCMP into the Citizen Police Service, and CSIS and CIA into the Imperial Security Integrated Service, and of course I don't like violence, but I am for defense, and my protocol's best, and I'm going to keep updating when did I go to the Jewish General Hospital to have that performed, the medical procedure, basically cracking back my right dislocated right shoulder, and of course the meds which I was given, probably opioids or to heal or for pain or for healing, I'm not sure, and of course I was saved because I did certain interventions, especially the one in 2016. In 2016, I did a special intervention vis-a-vis the Islamic State. I did basically anti-terror work, and in 2016, I did that. Discovered here in Montreal in a freely distributed newspaper. I discovered in a freely distributed newspaper Islamic State propaganda, Islamic State propaganda. Couldn't believe it. In 2016, I get goosebumps when I discuss it. I discovered Islamic State propaganda. And of course, right away, I took it to the RCMP headquarters. I did my citizen declaration that I guess I'm somewhere on the tapes of me going to drop the newspapers and to make my citizen security report, what I technically call the Independent Citizen Security Initiative or the Independent Citizen Security Action, and protocol. And of course, I saved lives without a doubt. That was horrible, their brutality. Even now they have a resurgence. We have to be ever vigilant vis-a-vis the Islamic State and other terror groups for national, binational, always for the 10 to 15 to 3. Watch the car, my uncle, cross safely. I calculated, see the velocity and the risk of that car mathematically. I saw the trajectory in mathematics and just wanted to keep my eye on my uncle like a hawk to be safe, cross the street safely, and he's safe. I'm okay. He's okay. Gonna go to do my other second part of the laundry cycle, which is drying. So yeah, I did that intervention years ago without a doubt. I didn't even hesitate. I took the several newspaper copies, and they shouldn't have ever been printed anyways. It should have never been printed in the first place. The articles, Islamic State propaganda. So probably there in the red somewhere, high classified. That should have been the RCMP officers who should have contacted the FBI, the Pentagon, the Department of Homeland Security to commend. In this case, it was me. I was the citizen who did the intervention, and it should have never been published in the first place. Yes, it was a breach of our security, and of course an intelligence breach. An intelligence breach will give you the RCMP and other intelligence breaches which were formulated, but of course that was the formulation and of course the relationship of having been done in such a way, of course, that it was related to binational security, because that Islamic propaganda should have never been published in Montreal freely in 2016. I wrote CSIS. They wrote me back a letter. I have it. Basically expressing some gratitude for my national anti-terrorism work, fundamentally anti-terrorism, and I saved without a doubt many lives. That's why I was saved, to save others, and I did it in just not for any financial motivation. Anyways, I did it just right away without hesitation when I saw it and I read it, and I was horrified. I said this, and I averted my actions averted a mass casualty event. So support my dream, the dancing goddess, the Dragon Kingdom, 24/7.